Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to share with you a story that happened to me a couple of days ago. As you probably figured out from the title of this video, my whole equipment got under the heavy rain and it was almost ruined. So in this video I want to tell you how it happened, what actions were taken, lessons learned, and how I'm going to prevent situations like this in the future. If you happen to follow my channel, you know that I keep my telescopes outside 24/7 and I'm always ready to shoot once the clear skies come to the place. And when there are different unwelcome conditions, my telescopes always cover it with telegizmos covers that have served me well over the last couple of years. And basically telegizmos cover helps you to protect your equipment really well from any different kinds of precipitations in only one condition. Your telescope or your equipment has to be covered. So it was Monday, March 4th, and I was out of town, a couple of hours of driving from the location of the telescopes. It was a rainy day and pouring was pretty heavy from time to time. So I got a text message from my cousin where she said hey, do you know that your telescope is uncovered? And then she sent me a picture of a horror. At the moment I was really speechless and my first thoughts were how could it happen? How long was the telescope actually this uncovered? Is it covered now or what's going on? So I came back to my feelings pretty quickly, gave a call to my cousin and was hey, can you please cover the telescope if you haven't already? So she texted me a few minutes after and said that she took the whole equipment inside the garage. By the way, she was able to easily take the whole equipment to the garage because it stands on a telescope cart. On the screen you looking at me towing these telescope carts from one place to another, and I built the first cart myself last year and it has served me well. Let me know in the comment section below if you would like to watch a separate video where I will tell a little more about it. So basically she left the telescope inside the garage, covered now, and it was waiting for me. I came back by 9 p.m. the same date, opened the garage gate and the telescope was there. So the water was dripping still from some parts of the telescope and I decided to start by unplugging different cords from the telescope. On some of the cords, on the connector part, I still had some water drips. From some ports the water was just rolling out, not a lot but still. Then I took off the reducer with the filter wheel and the camera. Surprisingly, the lens of the reducer, the inside parts of the camera, everything looked pretty dry, which was a good sign. So basically then, with a little more hope, I took the rest part of the equipment apart, put it into my car and left home for future investigation. Back to home, I took all the elements, all the pieces of the equipment apart and was checking if water did any damage to electrical parts of the camera, mini PC, power box, mount and etc. And mostly everything was looking pretty good actually. The only parts that visually suffered the most from the water were the guide scope and the camera. I had a good puddle of water inside the guide scope and even inside the camera's body. I wasn't worrying about the guide scope because basically it's just one lens element refractor that I knew I could dry out, wipe down the lens and the guide scope would be good to go. But I was a little concerned about the guide camera. And back in this time I didn't know if any of these parts can actually work or it's all dead. And also in the meanwhile I have a flat panel on the top of the telescope. So this flat panel can be either opened or closed only if you control it through the app. So I didn't have opportunity to figure out what's going on until the next day. Basically I decided to give this flat panel some time. So on the next day I actually was able to connect to the flat panel and it opened, worked as nothing happened yesterday. And after that I got my first chance to look at the lens of the telescope. Didn't look pretty bad. Yep, it has some water spots on the front part of the lens. I took care of it and now everything looks fine. The good sign about the telescope was that no water was inside the tube of the telescope and the inside part of the lens, all the inner parts of the telescope, everything looked pretty dry, which was pretty awesome. So then I took my heat gun and started drying all the the rest of the parts of the equipment. It was actually already pretty dry the next day, but I still decided to give it a little bit more heat just to make sure that everything will be dry for sure. So long story short, I only ended up with mini PC that died. This one, the Mini PC, actually was turning on a couple of times when I was checking it, but once I installed it on the top of the telescope, turned it on, I got smoke coming off the mini PC. Took it apart and looked at the plate. From my non-professional perspective, I didn't notice any specific part of the PC that burned, but something definitely burned here. So I had to get the new mini PC that I actually already installed on this telescope, and once I have some clear skies, I really hope to test out the telescope just to make sure that everything works great and I can go back to my imaging plan. So how did it happen that my telescope wasn't covered? So normally when I cover my telescopes with telegizmos covers, I also put on some bungee cords around the covers just to make sure that if there are any strong winds, nothing will be blown away. And on my second telescope, the bungee cord sits pretty tight, and as you can see on the picture once again, my refractor telescope was exposed to the rain. In the meanwhile, I have the second telescope that was still covered and everything looks good. So on the main imaging telescope, on the refractor telescope, I had two bungee cords that were connected next to each other, and it seems like the strength wasn't enough to keep the cover pretty secured. When we had some strong winds right before the rain started, the bungee cords, they all fell off the cover, and then wind did the rest of the job, and basically you know the end of the story, that my whole equipment got rained upon. So when I started keeping my telescopes outside 24/7 at the beginning of the last year, I used to have this habit where I would check the security camera and looking at telescopes, making sure that they're all covered and everything is good. So I just stopped checking the security camera on a daily basis, and yep, that's the result that I got. So to sum up, I need to think about better options to secure the telegizmos cover on the top of the telescope and making sure that the strong winds not gonna take it off the telescope. When I have bad weather conditions, I will have to check my security camera more often again, or just like, hey, I know it's rain, like approaching in an hour. Let's check how the telescope is doing, and if something is wrong, I will be able to fix the problem before it actually happens. And yep, I think this should help me to avoid the situation like this in the future. So in the end, I think I was really lucky because the mini PC was the only piece of equipment that died and the rest of the equipment survived. Many thanks to companies that produce astro equipment of good quality that doesn't allow water to get inside. I hope that this video was helpful to you in some way, and it has shown you that even if your equipment gets caught under the rain, it is not necessarily the end of the world, and there is always a way to recover your gear and possibly learn something valuable. And if any of you guys had a similar experience with the telescope getting under the rain, please let me know in the comment section down below. Share your stories, guys, and let's just basically try to support each other. And I really hope that my story and your stories that you might want to share in the comments might be helpful for other astrophotographers that probably in the future will face the same situation, and yep, the stories will be just a good support to these people. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you like this story, please give it a like button. Also consider subscribing to my channel. I know I haven't posted much content recently, but I'm planning to get on track pretty soon and film more videos where I hope to see you again, guys. So until next time, clear skies!